What's up, Speedy's Garage gang? Welcome back to the Speedy's Garage YouTube channel. We're on the home stretch with Project 4Runner. It's been a long road, and I'll be honest, I'm ready to be finished. I've been working on it most of 2023. Started off with all of the maintenance from new rear axle seals, new rear brakes, timing belt, water pump, and everything that went with that. New radiator hoses. All the fluids have been changed out and freshened up. New interior, which looks great. Super happy with that. We added heated seats. If you missed all of that, I'll leave a playlist link at the top. And last time I pulled off the fender flares. They were really the only part of the truck that looked really bad from a paint perspective. They needed to be repainted. So I prepped those, got those over to the paint shop, and got them back, and they look great as you saw last time. However, before I put those back on, I thought it would be a great time to give old Project 4Runner a spa day. It's been a long time since it's been fully detailed. It needs a decontamination wash, a good clay bar, and a good polish, and then I'm going to put some ceramic coating on it. I'm going to show you the products I choose to use, and I'll leave a link to everything in the description in case you want to check some of those out. Got a lot of work to get done today, so let's get to it. I'm going to start with a good foam cannon decontamination wash. I've got a pressure washer, so I'm going to be able to use the Canon version. If you don't, you can use something like this. Again, links in the description. This is a foam gun, which sort of the same principle. It's just not quite as much foam, but this will connect to your garden hose. Something like this requires a pressure washer. I've got a new toy, McKillen's swivel gun. And this swivels so it keeps your hose from getting kinked up. I like it that it's short and be easier to maneuver than the big long wand that comes on the pressure washer. A 40-degree tip is what I'll use for any spraying off. In the foam cannon, I'm going to use some G-Technic W4 citrus foam decontamination wash is what this is called. You basically foam the vehicle, let it soak, and it'll sort of pull all the contaminants off, and you give it a quick wash and then spray it down. This makes washing it a lot faster. Normal washes, I just use cheap Meguiar's car wash. This is what I use also in the foam cannon if you care. I've found this for as cheap as $4 for this, I think 64 ounce bottle. Sometimes I see it go as much as $10, but I usually buy it when it's on sale for like $4. It works great. Then we're going to use a Griot's iron and fallout remover, and this stuff smells like raw sewage, so be ready for that. I like this version because it's a gel. It's a little bit thicker than some of the other brands. You spray it on the vehicle. You don't want either one of these products to dry on the vehicle, so make sure you're doing it in the shade, you know, right temperatures and all that kind of stuff. You don't want the vehicle hot, you want it cooling in the shade. And you let this stuff soak for a little while, and it will pull off any environmental fallout that happened to get on the paint, iron particles, other debris that gets on the clear coat. And this is kind of a chemical clay bar is what I like to sort of think of it as. Normal cars that you clay bar often or polish often probably won't need this, but since it's been a while, I'm going to hit it with this first to make my life a little bit easier before I get to the paint clay. And this is exactly what you would think. It looks just like clay you would have played with as a kid, and you need a lubricant, so you spray, I'm using Griot's Speed Shine, spray this on the surface, then you just wipe the surface off with your clay bar, and this pulls out any contaminants your iron and fallout remover didn't get. So that'll be kind of step 3. And then we get to the paint correction and the polish, and I'm going to try a new product. Not tried this before. It's 3D1. They claim that this can act like a multiple polish system. So basically, I'll start with a medium pad. I got a couple of those. I did Hex Logic. I never used these before. They're 5-inch. I'll be using them with my trusty 7336 Porter Cable Random Orbitable and a Nico backing pad. But basically the idea behind this stuff is the more you polish, the finer the polish gets, and so you can use one product to go from, you know, like a normal polish, like when I used to do this before, it'd be a 3, a 2, and a 1. You had to actually polish the vehicle 3 times. I'm hoping I can get it done with just 2. I'll start with a medium heavy pad, see how that does, and then finish up with a light medium pad. You just put a little bit of this product on the pad, keep polishing until you get all the scratches out. Once that's done, it'll be ready for the ceramic. And I'm going to use some G-Technic panel wipe, and this is basically 70% isopropyl alcohol, so you can make your own or just get some alcohol if you wanted to. I had this from a previous project, so I'll be using the rest of that just to wipe the truck down, get everything you know, cleaned up and get the surface prepped for. I'm going to use this graphene ceramic spray coating, and this is a 12-month to 18-month coating. Some of the more expensive and more advanced ones, a little bit harder to apply, can last 2 or 3 years. I figure on the 4Runner, if I can get the last 12 to 18 months, I did pretty good. I've never used this product before, but I bought it as a kit. It came with 2 applicator pads and some borderless towels to buff it off with. I'm hoping this does good. I'll probably do a follow-up. If you've watched the channel before, you know I'm pretty impressed with the do-it-yourself ceramic coatings. I've used them on the Hellcat, used it on the Camaro, used it on Miss Speedy's car. So 4Runner's going to get that too. Well, that's everything I'm going to be using today. Again, links in the description. Let's get started. I'm going to mix up the decontamination wash, the G-Technic Citrus Foam, and it's 1 to 5. So 1 part of the soap to 5 parts of hot water. And pro tip, put the water in first, then add your soap, otherwise you end up with a bunch of suds. Okay, we got the decon wash done. We're gonna go after it now with the fallout remover, and you just mist this on the cool surface. Try to cover it as even as you can, and it should start to show some little purple spots as it works. That's it pulling the iron out. It gets other contaminants too. And I'm gonna work from the top down, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't dry out. Hopefully you can see that. See all those little purple places? That's the fallout remover doing its job. And on this one it says to let it set about 3 minutes and then agitate it with a sponge, so that's what I'm going to do. I like this one. It's gel, like I said before, so it's kind of clinging to the vehicle a little bit better. And even though this stuff does stink, I do got to say this one's not as bad as most. Griot's did at least try to put a little bit of lemon scent in it, so at least they did do that. So I'm just going to start wiping it down now. So I got the decontamination wash done as well as the fallout remover. If you've heard of the baggie trick, been around cars for all, you probably have. You can put your hand in a baggie and gently rub it on the paint, and it'll kind of help you feel the contaminants that might be still in the paint. And I did this before the fallout remover, and I could feel quite a bit of stuff remaining. After the fallout remover, it feels quite a bit better. I still feel some, but not near as much. So the reason I choose to do the fallout remover is it saves me labor when it comes time to use the clay bar. It's a little bit easier for me to spray something on, wash the truck basically, and then pressure wash it off. And I did pressure wash it off 3 times to make sure I had all that fallout remover removed. But that's a little bit easier to me than trying to rub the clay bar around. But I still got some contaminants on the paint, so we're going to use the clay bar next. Let's get the vehicle in the shop and get started. The clay bar process is actually pretty easy. Make sure you use a lubricant. It doesn't have to be this one. This is just what I happen to have. Some people even use a ammonia-free glass cleaner or something of that nature. You just need something that's slippery. I would probably recommend using a product designed for claying a vehicle. What you want is to make sure there's lubricity under the clay so that it glides easily across the paint, and you're gonna let the clay do the work. Don't push down or do anything. Just let it glide across the paint. Mash it out to like a hamburger size piece. I'm gonna work in like 2x2 sections. Gonna give it a good mist of the Speed Shine, which is the lubricant in my case. I've got a towel to wipe any drips or runs, and that's all there is to it. You just literally wipe it on the paint, nice and easy. Doesn't take much, and this will make a huge difference in the surface of your paint before you polish. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you do want to knead the clay often. So I'm going to do this section and then knead the clay back together so that any contaminants are buried back into the clay. And if the clay starts to stick or leave any clay material on your panel, it means you don't have enough lubricant. So keep that in mind. You can kind of see there what it's picking up off the paint. And then I'm just going to take my microfiber, wipe it down, move on to the next panel. I've done the entire hood, and I like to kind of do the plastic bag test again before I do the rest of the vehicle, because it'll let me know if I'm doing enough. And now I don't feel any contaminants. It is super slick, and that's what I want. That means it has pulled all the contaminants out of the paint. And if I do this section, which I haven't done yet, it now feels really rough compared to the hood. So now we just got to do the rest of the vehicle. Okay, I got the entire vehicle clay barred, and I wanted to show you, this is from just the tailgate. So these vehicles, because of the way they're shaped, they create a low pressure area behind them, and it sort of pulls road debris in. You can see how nasty that is. So definitely was in need of a little clay bar maintenance. Now we're ready to go for polishing, but honestly, it's been a long day. I think I'm gonna stop right here, work on polishing it tomorrow. I'm back, it's the next day. Before I get started on polishing, I'm going to do an inspection of the paint surface and really get an idea of what I think it needs. I've always been careful. I'm careful with all of my vehicles, and when I wash them, I use the 2-bucket wash method. If you don't know what that is, you should be using it, especially if you wash your car yourselves, and you should honestly be doing that too. Never run it through one of those car washes that slaps and drag stuff across your paint. You might as well wash it with sandpaper if you do that, and that's what will induce a lot of scratches and swirls. The 2-bucket wash method, and I use grit guards in my buckets. The whole purpose of that is to prevent scratches on your paint, and this is light silver, so it will hide scratches anyway, but even looking at it under this light, everything looks pretty good. And this is to determine how much polishing and which pad I'm going to need to use, and I'll show you that in a second, but for now I'm going to show you the paint surface. So here's what I'm working with, and you can see the reflection of the lights is actually very good. I'll even get a brighter light on there. I don't really see very many swirls or scratches in the paint, and I don't expect to, because I've used that 2-bucket wash method like I mentioned. So that means for the most part I'm going to have a pretty easy time with the polishing, and actually I could probably just go ahead and put the ceramic spray coating on, but since it's been so long, I do want to hit it with some polish. On the sides, the only places I see things is where the fender flares were, and this is why I am doing this now before the flares go back on the truck, because I'm going to polish on that some. That may not come out, that may be too deep, but I'm going to see what I can do with it, and I'll probably use a little bit more aggressive pad. So I've got the 2 pads, as I mentioned. I've got a light and a medium. I'm going to do the light on everywhere except this area, and I'll probably try the medium pad on that just to see what it does. You want to go with the least abrasive if your paint's in good shape. If it's in worse shape, obviously you have to go a little bit more abrasive, but since mine's in good shape, I'm going to start with that light pad and get started. I've got the light polishing pad prepared with just 4 dime-sized drops of the 3D1 polish, and the reason it's called 1 is it's because it's supposed to be all in one. It'll do cutting and polishing all in one product. It's supposed to stay workable longer so it doesn't dry up and get dusty on you, and you basically set the aggressiveness of the product based on the pad that you're going to use. So this is the light pad, like I mentioned. I've got a medium one. We'll try on those harsher scratches. There's harder pads still. Some of them are microfiber if you want to get into cutting. This truck's in really good shape paint-wise. It doesn't need all of that. And the reason I'm going to try this product, and I'm hoping it works, is when I did this before, years ago, I had to use 3 different polishes, and each one was a little bit less abrasive. So it'd be 3, 2, 1, with 3 being the most abrasive, and you had to use 2 and 1 to get all the little fine holograms and scratches out. This is going to save me some time, all about that. You can't get more of it, time that is. So I'm going to hope this works. Let's get started. I'm going to start by blotting the surface a little bit. And you don't want to turn your machine on until it's on the surface of the vehicle, or you could sling product everywhere inadvertently. And I'm going to work in like a 2x1 section here. I'm going to watch the cord, see how we do. All right, that's going to be my test. Now I'm going to wipe the product off, see how the surface looks, If it's good enough, I'm just going to stick with that, and it'll save me a step of having to switch pads. And I think that's actually looking real good. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to do better than that. 2-bucket wash method's definitely going to save me some time. Now I just got to do the rest of the vehicle. And I'll come back and show you when I use the orange pad on these sections. We'll see how it does. I wanted to give you an idea just how good this stuff works. Hopefully you can see, this is the driver's side, which I haven't done yet at all on this fender. Hopefully you can see that line where the fender flare was, and it's kind of scratched a little bit. I went ahead and started on the fender with the white pad, so I haven't even hit it with the orange one yet. And look at that. That line is almost completely gone. And actually the only place I even see a little bit of it is like right around in here. I'm gonna hit that with the orange pad, but that stuff is working really well. It wipes off easy, definitely zero dust. So far, I'm impressed. It's all polished out, and I gotta be honest, it was easier and came out better than I expected. The real story is these fenders, where those fender flares were. 95 or 98% of those blemishes came out with this product, so I'm pretty impressed. And hopefully you can see how polished it is through the reflection. It's way brighter in person. And the nice thing about this stuff, there's no fillers. So this is true paint correction. There's nothing in there filling scratches. It actually, the microfiber towel was squeaking on the paint when I was buffing it off. So hopefully you can see how good that is. I mean, I'm super impressed. I'll give you a couple of tips on this stuff. Number one, let the machine do the work. Don't bear down on it. You don't have to. Just let the weight of the machine glide over the panel and it will polish out just fine. I started off putting about 4 dime-sized drops of that 3D1 on the pad. As the pad became loaded, I noticed it would start to spatter a little bit and became a little bit harder to wipe off. So I backed it down to just 3 pea-sized drops, a little bitty drop. This stuff goes a really long way, and it does have a really long working time. It never dried up on me or did anything weird like that. And I noticed if I had too much on the pad, it was a little bit harder to buff off. And if I got it right, it was easy. Just wiping it down, zero dust, really easy to do. I did buy this myself. This is not sponsored. First time I've used it. It's definitely a one-step product, and the 4Runner looks really good. I actually got a quote from a detailer to do this exact process that I've done. I was expecting, you know, 300, 400 bucks, $800. I get it, inflation and all that, but when I heard that price, that's when I decided I was just going to go back to doing it myself. And honestly, it wasn't bad. It took me 2 hours to polish it out. That's it. Sat in the shop, some good music playing, really easy to do. Now it is ready for the ceramic coating. I got to get with the paint shop and see if the flares can be ceramic coated after they're painted, or I'll have to wait, you know, maybe 90 days or something like that for them to fully cure. I need to check on that. And I've got a little something I'm going to do that I need to put on before I do the ceramic. So that's coming up next, but I'm going to take a break. And one last nice thing, it's water cleanup. So all I did was put a little bit of this Griot's microfiber foam pad cleaner in a bucket of hot water, threw the pads in there and let them soak, and they're practically good as new, and I can use those again. Well, I'm back from a quick break and had something cold to drink, and you'll notice that there are now graphics on Project Sport Runner. I went ahead and knocked that out because I want a ceramic coat over top of them, and this was the best time to put them on because the truck is super clean, polished, and I just wiped it down with a little bit of alcohol. But that's a separate video I'll post here soon, so be sure to check back for that. We'll give you a little preview of how they look though. So I'm pretty happy with that. It added just a little something to break up the silver. But this video is about a spa day, so let's get back to it. So the final step in this detailing series or project, I'll call it, is to put a ceramic coating on it. I'm doing this to, number one, protect the paint, but number two, to make it super easy to clean. If you've been following the channel, you know I'm pretty impressed and a fan of ceramic coatings. And I chose this specific one. This is Adams Graphene Ceramic Spray Coating. I did the advanced one. It's got a little bit higher, or much higher content of the ceramic in it, so it'll last a little bit longer. I chose that one because it's easy to apply. You can actually put this on everything. You can put it on glass, you can put it on door trim, you can put it on painted surfaces, anything on the car. So that's gonna make it super easy to apply. And I just bought a kit. It came with the 2 plush towels and a couple of these applicator pads. And you just spray it on the pad, wipe it on the surface. It'll have a rainbow effect. When that flashes off, you polish it with one of the microfiber towels. You don't have to worry about getting it on glass. You don't have to worry about getting it on trim. And it lasts anywhere from 12 to 18 months. I don't know if that's assuming the car is garaged or not, but if it lasts a year, that'll be good enough for me. I will decontaminate, wash the truck a year from now and just put it on again. If it's super easy to put on like I think it'll be, it should be wipe on, wipe off, be super quick. For the actual trim, I considered replacing some parts like this gray bumper trim, same thing in the back, but I thought I could try to save it with one of these Cerakote trim coat kits, and it is literally some wipes, and I'll show you this when I get to putting it on, but it came with some gloves, which this did not, which kind of surprised me. I'm going to wear gloves because when I've used ceramic coatings in the past, they kind of can get build up and you can feel them being crunchy on the glove. But anyway, this is just wipes. So that should be pretty interesting. It should be easy to use too. I'm all about easy. To get started, prep the surface, even though it's polished and everything's ready to go, I am going to use some panel wipe. That's to give the ceramic the best chance of biting into the surface. It'll kind of bind, and the better it binds, the longer it'll last. So we're just going to wipe the truck down and get started. Wipe the surface down with the panel wipe, and I paid really close attention to these rubber seals. I'm hoping this ceramic product, since you can put it on everything, will sort of recondition those. So I cleaned all of those really well. And then you saw me shut the light off, and I actually went around the truck with a fluorescent or LED light and looked for any haze or anything like that. It was a little easier to see it with all the lights off and a flashlight. So I recommend you do that just to be double, triple sure. Now we're ready for the ceramic. I'm gonna put a little bit of the product on this applicator pad. I've never used this stuff before, so it's gonna be a learning experience for me here. Probably should have done this with the gloved hand, huh? And then I'm just gonna wipe it on in back and forth motions, just like I've always done ceramic coatings. And they say it'll sort of turn like a rainbowy color as it flashes off. And I think this even has some kind of UV dye in it. Maybe to help you know you covered everything, but I can see it pretty dang obvious, to be honest. It's got a pretty stout smell to it, so be ready for that. I'll try to do half the hood, and then wipe it and come back and do the other half. Put it on everything, so I'm going to do the windshield wipers and all of it. Alright, let's let that flash off and see how it looks. I don't know if that's going to come through on camera, but I can see it starting to get like a rainbow look to it. I'm going to get another minute or two. Let this stuff flash maybe 3 minutes. It says when the rainbow starts to disappear, it's ready to rock and roll for buffing. All right, the rainbow effect is starting to disappear, so I'm going to start buffing the product. And you don't want to go in circles. You want to go back and forth. Just like this. I can certainly feel the surface of the truck getting super slick, which is what I really like about ceramic coatings. They almost make it, or they actually do make it, where even dirt won't stick to the paint. Makes them super easy to clean. Looks like it even refurbished that windshield wiper arm. I was thinking I might have to paint those, but I don't know now. They look pretty good. All right, so I'm pretty impressed with how easy it is to use. This is going to take probably a half hour to do the whole truck. It takes 4 hours to cure, so once it's all finished, I'll leave it for 4 hours, and then I'll do a little test to see how slick it feels. But I can tell you already, you can see There you go. When you start sliding a microfiber like that, the surface is pretty slick. Well, I had so much product. This is a 12-ounce bottle, and it was so easy to do. I decided to do 2 coats, and you can see I used not quite half, so this stuff goes a pretty long way. And there's how it turned out. I think it looks amazing. You can see the reflection of the lights, hopefully, in the glass and the hood. They look about the same. That's how shiny the paint is, and it is so slick feeling. The only question is going to be how long it lasts, but super easy to use. What you want to kind of do is look down the side of the vehicle as you're using it and kind of get level across the top. And you want to look for any splotches or something that you missed. That's called a high spot when working with ceramic, and you want to make sure you buff those smooth. You're not polishing or waxing, you're actually leveling the product. And the way it works chemically is there's solvents that carry the ceramic, and as the solvents flash off, they leave the ceramic behind bonded to the surface of the panel. That's technically how it works. So you don't want to buff it when you're removing it, you just want to wipe it in a back and forth motion, and that is kind of leveling it and smoothing it out. But hopefully you can see how good that turned out. And I think technically you could probably use it on the plastic trim too. It did brighten up or restore the window trim. I was hoping it would. And the roof rack. It was basically gray before I put the graphene spray ceramic on there. So that turned out great as well. And I like that you can use it on glass and everything. Made it super easy to do. But I do have that other product specifically for these bumpers, and since I already have it, I'm going to go ahead and do that next. And one other thing I'll kind of share with you to help you have the best chance of success is with these spray ceramic or this spray ceramic product, I found it was pretty hard to mess up. With the regular ceramic, you have to be a little bit more careful with timing and everything. But this particular product is pretty forgiving. So you sort of need to work with it based on your conditions, your humidity and temperature and all that. It's pretty low humidity here at this time of the year, and it's pretty low temperature in the 70s, I would say. And I would put it on, I would see the rainbow that I talked about, and right as that rainbow started to fade away, that's the solvents flashing off. When that was about gone, and I mean pretty much mostly gone, that's when I would start to wipe the product down with the microfiber towel. If you wipe it off too early, you'll wipe the graphene ceramic off, and it won't last as long, so keep that in mind. Working on this trim, I'm going to start by wiping it down with panel wipe again. It's just alcohol, remember. I've done it before, but since I'm just about to install this stuff or put this coating on it, I'm going to go ahead and do it one more time. Here's what you get. It's 10 individual wipes and kind of an instruction card. This is more like what I'm used to in regards to ceramic. They're very adamant about the surface being dry. With normal ceramic, I didn't see it mentioned with the spray ceramic we used before on the rest of the vehicle, but with normal ceramic, water will actually activate it. So they're real adamant about making sure everything's super dry, which mine is. It's been dried for a while. So we're gonna get one of these out and get started. First thing I'll tell you is tearing off one of the pieces that actually tore 2 of them open. I need to because I'm doing both sides or both front and back, but be aware of that. Here's what you get, a little towel. It's covered in ceramic, I guess. We're gonna find out. And I'm gonna start with the back because it's in the worst shape. You can see it's pretty gray, not the best looking. It looks good. There's the back bumper finished, and it does look pretty close to like new. I'll let that flash off for a half hour or so, and we'll see how it looks. Go take care of the front bumper now. Being careful to overlap and make sure I get good even coverage. You don't want to have any splotchy marks with this stuff. Here's what the trim looks like all finished up. I went ahead and also did the, what would you call that? The grating or the screen over the AC intake. Went ahead and did that too. Here's what the bumpers look like. And I mean, I guess it's okay. If I had it to do again, I'd probably just use that Adams product on everything. This stuff is a little too shiny for my taste. So I like a little more satin look. And on the bumper, I don't know if you can see that, but in direct light, it's a little, you know, like smeary. And I did a couple of coats and it stayed that way. The rest of it and the back, I'll show you the back in a second, look fine. But for some reason, the top here, it just didn't turn out as smooth as I would have liked. And here's the back. I did 2 coats on it as well because it was in pretty rough shape. It had just about bleached out. And it did bring it back to life. And I'd say that's pretty good for 21-year-old, you know, trim. But if I had to do it again, I'd just use that Adams stuff. And this original Toyota hood protector, air splitter, whatever you want to call it, I did everything to it too. I washed it real well, clay barred it, and I polished it with that 3D1 to make it look like new. And I even put a new coat of paint on my Satoshi grill over there. Now it's just time for reassembly. So that was a lot for a spa day, but this truck needed it, and it's looking really, really good for 21 years old. All that's left is to reassemble, and the project is pretty much complete, but I think that's enough for today. Be sure to tune back in. We'll put everything back together and get the payoff on all this work we've been doing. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. It's at Speedies_garage, as well as the website, www.speediesgarage.net. Hopefully, I'll see you out there.